In this video, we will discuss the types of increases used in Taritoys patterns. These include directional M1 increases, from a stitch of the previous row, it one below, from a yarn over, a modern new type of increase called Twincrease by the SSIA.brill. Let's begin with one of the most common methods, which allows for perhaps the tightest form of increases, directional M1 increases. To make a right-leaning M1 increase, pick up the horizontal strand between the just knitted stitch and the next stitch on the left needle with the right needle and place it onto the left needle with the left loop forward. Actually, it's easy to remember how to position the strand on the needle because when knitting increases to the right, the stitch formed by the strand also looks to the right. Insert the right needle under the left loop of the strand from left to right and knit it, twisting the strand to prevent a hole from forming where the new stitch is created. Continue knitting. The newly formed stitch is slanted to the right. To create a left-leaning M1 increase, pick up the horizontal strand between the just knitted stitch and the next stitch on the left needle with the right needle and place it onto the left needle with the right loop forward. When knitting increases to the left, the stitch formed by the strand also looks to the left. Insert the right needle under the right loop of the strand from right to left and knit it, twisting the strand to prevent a hole from forming where the new stitch is created. The newly formed stitch is directed to the left. The next type of increase is an increase from a stitch of the previous below row. Let's consider an increase from a stitch of the previous row slanting to the right. Insert the right needle under the right loop of the stitch from the previous row as if to knit, and knit it. Then knit the stitch of the last row in the usual manner. The new stitch is positioned to the right of the desired stitch. To create an increase from a stitch of the previous row slanting to the left, first knit the desired loop in the usual manner. Then insert the right needle under the left loop of the stitch from the previous row and knit it. For convenience, you can place it on the left needle. The new stitch is positioned to the left of the desired stitch. Now let's talk about increases using yarn overs. Yarn overs are created in one row and worked in the next. To get a stitch that leans to the right, in a knit row, make a yarn over by placing the working yarn on the right needle with the left loop forward. It's easy to remember, the yarn over looks to the right. Then knit the next stitch as usual. To get a stitch that leans to the left, in a knit row, make a yarn over by placing the working yarn on the right needle with the right loop forward. Then knit the next stitch as usual. When it's time to work the yarn overs in the purl row if knitting back and forth, each yarn over should be work twisted. Insert the right needle behind the knitting, under the left loop of the yarn over, directing the needle from left to right, and purl the yarn over. Don't forget to turn the resulting stitch so that the right loop of it is in front. Purl stitches are knitted in the usual way. When working a yarn over that should become a right-leaning increase in the knit row, insert the right needle under the left loop of the yarn over in front of the knitting and purl it. Continue knitting the purl row. If knitting in the round, work the yarn overs in the next row the same way as when working cross broaches. Now let's look at another type of increase, which is very interesting and modern, invented recently by Asha.brill. Link to the account in the video description. Twincrease. Insert the right needle into the desired stitch as if to purl. Slip it off the left needle and wrap this stitch around the left needle from front to back. Knit the first stitch from this position and slip only the right loop of the stitch off the needle. Then insert the right needle under the left loop of the stitch as if to knit. Knit the second stitch from this position, slip the left loop of the stitch off the left needle. This method creates two stitches from one, which are visually indistinguishable from each other. Continue knitting the row. Finally, let's see how different types of increases look on the finished sample. M1 increases from across horizontal strands M1L and M1R. Increases from a stitch of the previous row, left and right. Increases from a yarn over left and right. And, finally, Twincrease. For more information about increases and other knitting techniques, visit Taritoys.com. You can also find handmade toys and their patterns on Taritoys.com. Enjoy your knitting!